This episode of Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast is brought to you by MG Schlachter, a built environment and architectural consulting firm with an in-house production team. Delivering support services in the retail, hospitality, and residential sectors for leading brands worldwide, MG Schlachter is reinventing, something near and dear to my heart, of course, architectural support services. So look, let's say you're a worldwide fashion retailer and your new business plan calls for opening 450 new stores around the world this year. Or say you're an architecture firm and in order to grow, you need to staff up quickly to produce detailed drawing packages for your new winning project. Or dig this. Let's say you're a national hospitality brand who's putting together a new line of boutique hotels and you've got to produce a massive amount of graphics, such as custom artwork, posters, or slide decks, both in digital and print. MG Schlachter serves architecture and interior design firms, retailers, construction companies, graphic designers, and brand managers. And with the way they're reinventing architectural support services, they offer production and strategic consulting. Their in-house production team understands the importance of accuracy and precision and can demonstrate the utmost care throughout the drawing and delivery process. And on the consulting side, their team consists of architects and international design consultants with many years of experience in design and construction. Suffice it to say that whatever built environment or architectural project you're working on, MG Schlachter can step in and help accelerate your growth. So, if you're looking for a built environment and architectural services firm with an in-house production team to help you reinvent your next project, check out MG Schlachter. Find them on the web at mgschlachter.com. That's mgschlachter.com, mgschlachter.com. Hey gang, I'm super pumped to bring you this week's episode with Davionne Gooden, where we're talking gaming, game development, and esports. Yeah, I'm super psyched to bring you this episode because this is a topic I've really wanted to dig into for a while, and Davionne has such a great story. You know, he started out in film school, but dropped out after a semester to pursue game development of his new video game that's called She Dreams Elsewhere. You know, it's not even released yet, but he's got national attention for it. And some international attention for it, and it's really kind of, I think, speaking to the market out there right now. You know, it's this interesting mix of surrealism and hip-hop, and, you know, it's an RPG-style game, which if you don't know that term, just keep listening to the episode. I wasn't so familiar with all the video game terms, but it's really cool, and I wanted to give an extra little bit of flavor to the game for everybody that's listening out there. And if you haven't picked up on it yet, you know, I switched out my normal pad music here with some music from the game itself. So it's not released yet, so this is an exclusive preview of a little bit of what the game sounds like. But I wanted to get everyone to have a feel for it. So it's kind of, you know, surreal sounding, a little bit of hip hop, a little jazzy, and you'll hear some more audio clips throughout this episode. But anyways, I'm looking forward to when it actually gets released because it looks really cool. But before we get to Davionne's episode, real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to all the digital nomads out there. Since I'm heading to Mexico this week, Cancun, to the Nomad Summit, so I'm really looking forward to see everybody, make new friends, and see some old friends. You know, if you're just starting a reinvention, or you're in the middle of a reinvention, or you just want to continue to learn, going to events and networking and, getting out of your maybe local hometown for a minute, it's such a good thing to do. It helps you kind of break up your patterns that you normally fall into, and discover new things, in a way that you might just not do that, just kind of going through your regular routine every day. And, what's funny is I get nervous, even though I get so much out of these events and so much out of traveling, I get nervous right before I have to leave. And so I'm getting a little nervous this week because I'm leaving Friday. It's Monday right now when I'm recording this. But I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but I get super nervous thinking, like, should I be doing this? Should I be spending money on this? I'm not sure I'm going to get enough out of it, etc. But, once I drop in and I get there and start talking to people and, see the surroundings, and it's a really nice place, and it's, nice warm weather, it'll be a nice cool hotel, I realize it's how impactful it is for me, and I'm super grateful always as soon as I get there. But leading up to it, it's always sort of a question in my mind, kind of pushing myself and wanting to reach out and grow, and that's always a little nerve-wracking for me. Maybe someone else feels the same way out there, but anyways, it's a cool thing to do. So give it a shot if you have a chance. Find an event near you or somewhere around the world to go to. All right, well, let's get to this week's episode with Davionne. I can't wait for you guys to hear a couple more tracks from the game so you get a better feel for it and hear what he's up to. So here we go.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit jimreinventionrevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim.
Hey everybody, this is Jim, and welcome to episode 58 of Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And I'm talking today with Davionne Gooden, and we're talking gaming and esports. So, Davionne, welcome to the revolution, man. What's up?
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Oh, well, thanks for taking time out of your day to come over and do this, because I know you've been super busy, man. It's been like a crushing summer, it seems like, for you.
Oh, tell me about it, man.
It seems like you've been just working 24/7 and always tired and whatever. But I want to dig into this situation immediately first, okay, to tell people what you've been doing. So you're working on this game lately that's called She Dreams Elsewhere.
Yep.
Okay. So I really want to know what's going on with it, because it's, I've been checking it out, and I've known about it for a little while, but it's got this cool vibe. And actually, one of the things I wanted to ask you about before we dig into this is there's some really cool soundtrack to it.
Oh, thanks,
right?
man. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've been listening to it. I've been digging it. And so when we record this, is it okay if I take that music and maybe throw it into the episode somehow?
It's all yours, man.
Okay, cool. All right, man. So I might try to throw it on as some bumper music underneath some of the stuff that we're talking about here, so just so people can get a vibe of flavor of the game and stuff like that. So this thing is called She Dreams Elsewhere, and I just want to start out with a little description here, and then you can tell us all about it. So here's the thing. So just imagine you're in this gaming world now, and you see this scene. You wake up in a foggy haze with one hell of a headache. The way ahead is dark and foreboding. You remember who you are, but not a lick of how you got there. And to top it off, you've got a persistent little pest of a doppelganger out for your blood at all times. So that's a little creepy, man. And it kind of sets the scene of that's interesting. So what is She Dreams Elsewhere, and what is it about?
Yeah, so basically it's this surreal adventure RPG. You're playing Astalia and you're in a coma. You got to figure out.
All right, let me stop you right there. So not everybody that's listening is hip to all the gamer terms.
Right.
Okay, right. So let's explain a little bit of that as you're going here. So RPG is what?
Role-playing game.
Okay.
It's very just narrative-driven, with elements of combat, exploration, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Right.
Very surreal, trippy. But basically, you're playing Astalia and you're in a coma. You got to figure out how you got in a coma, find a way to wake up, confront your own inner nightmares, and just have this horrible, trippy experience the entire way.
Wait, so how does the game start? You realize you're the player that's in the coma? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's you wake up playing Astalia, just it starts out with this dream sequence, you don't know where you are, what's happening, and you find out there's this doppelganger after you, but she seems a little bit familiar.
Oh.
So it just kind of goes from there. It kind of takes you deep inside your own psyche. So I always just love stuff like that.
Okay, well, cool. Well, okay, now it starts to make more sense to me, because I was watching the trailer, and for folks listening out there, I'll put a link to the trailer in the show notes. But you should check it out, because it's this cool combination of live action sort of film, right, with the interspersed with the music and the screenshots of the video game itself. And the video game is kind of it's sort of a pixelated, grainy sort of thing. Is that how it's going to remain, that kind of look and feel, or are you trying to go for a higher resolution thing? I think it's neat how you did the live action filming to kind of make it a real thing, which we'll talk about a little bit, because I know that probably comes from your film background and stuff. But it's just I don't think I've seen that kind of approach too much in the gaming world. So pretty neat idea.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, how's the game gonna look?
So the trailer you're talking about, that was like one of the like live action teasers that I posted like a while ago.
Right.
The full game is like still in that like pixel art style, like not as grainy for like most of the game.
Okay.
When it does come on, it's like for more like kind of like dramatic like moments where like you're really like deep inside your own like head. Because like the whole game's like all about like just like you can find like your own like anxiety and like depression, like just all that fun like mental health goodness and stuff.
That fun mental health. I see. Okay. Yeah, cool. Oh, well, maybe that's a reflection of, when you're looking inside your own mind, it's not, things aren't as clear or crisp. It's sort of like maybe fuzzier and a little bit weirder, I guess, right? Okay, maybe that's a good, that's interesting. Okay. All right, now I get a little bit more the more I think about it, talk to you about it. I'm starting to see the vision of it more. But, okay, so you've been working on this thing. It's not out yet, right? Okay, it's not finished yet, but you've been having like a crushing, slamming summer of going to these events and getting some notoriety for the game. I noticed. So, how did tell me about the genesis of the idea for the game and how it came together, and how did you start getting some attention for it, even though it's not even out? I don't quite understand that.
Yeah,
okay.
I kind of don't even understand it really too. But
okay, well, help us all here.
Yeah, so I started development back when I was senior in high school. I'm 21 now, I'll be 22 next month.
Okay.
Wow, next month.
Wow.
Time. Yeah. See, I started development like way back then. And I just always just like love like dreams and like how they kind of like reflect like your own, like what you're going through like emotionally and like, just in like everyday life. So I started that way back when, and the original art style was like more in this like colorful, like cartoony, like kind of art style. And the story was like more like generic, like this is what everybody dreams about, like all that stuff.
I see. Okay.
But as development went on, like
forced you to look inside a little bit, right?
Yeah, I got my own feelings. Just I just like thought about like what am I like really going through? Like what do I like dream about? Like all that stuff.
Okay.
And then for the art style, I pressed the wrong button in Photoshop one day and it made everything black and white.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, that's wrong, but I like it. We're gonna keep going with it.
Oh, nice.
So just kind of like developed it from there, and like it really like fit in with the whole like kind of like dreamy, like ethereal like vibe I was going for.
Okay.
See, I've been working on it for almost 4 years now by the time it comes out. And the whole like notoriety thing. So I released a demo of like the first like full like hour of the game, like late last year. Before then, I'd like gone like just 2 showcases before that.
Okay, so explain what that means. So what are showcases and how do you release a demo? So I'm not sure everybody who understands what that means.
Yeah, so basically showcase just means this usually like either gaming conventions or like some type of like artsy type of festival or whatever.
Okay.
So I showed off a little bit of that demo at GDEX, which is over in Columbus, which is like this like kind of smaller like gaming convention.
Okay.
Then the very next month.
So that's what, the Gamers Developer Conference or something like that?
Yeah, so
GDEX? Yeah,
it's like, I forget exactly what it stands for, but
okay.
Like when it comes to gaming conventions, there's like 3 different types in my book. There's the gaming and fan-focused ones, which are like just more like experiences for like people who are like just interested in games, just want to have a good time, all that stuff. There's developer focused, which are kind of more centered on like business and like finding financing or publishing deals.
Okay.
Just getting like industry like feedback, stuff like that. And then there's press focused events, which is just more just like getting like word out about the game, like connecting with journalists, all that fun stuff.
Gotcha, yeah.
So the first 2 I went to were like more like gaming and like fan focused. And then after those 2, I released the full demo like online, just like through like Steam and like this website called itch.io, both like big like gaming websites, and they like allow you to like release your games. Steam is like the biggest like PC like storefront out there right now.
Okay.
And then itch.io, that's more for like indies and like just smaller like hobbyist developers.
And let me ask you a question about those, because this is part of the reason why I wanted to have you on. Is like this whole world is very interesting, and I think it has implications or will have an impact for sure on just kind of the society, larger society in general, in a way of how we're going to kind of interact through social media and more of the gamification of the world or society in general, I think, a little bit. So I'm trying to understand it. That's why I try to present different topics and things to kind of think about how the world is changing and going to be. But so what describe what Steam is like do you get paid to put stuff on there? Is it just an open forum? Is it like a blog, or like you said, you can put your demos of games on there? But do they make money? Is that the intention of what Steam does? Like
Steam,
and how do they? Do you get compensated at all? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. So Steam, I would describe to non-gamers as like the Amazon of PC games. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you're a developer, it's changed throughout the years, but basically how it is now is that you pay like $100 fee, and then with that fee, you can like just you have like a developer account. You can put your game on there. You have like a little storefront. You can have like your own little like community like hub center. You can like post like announcements and blogs and like stuff like that on. Mm-hmm. And then Steam, they take 30% off like each like sale like for like all developers.
Okay.
Unless you're like one of the big guys, in that case you kind of like get like a lower percentage just because they're doing just so much business.
I see.
And Steam was created by this company called Valve, and they were originally like this huge like game developer / publisher, and nowadays they're still that, but they kind of shifted more towards like just like developing technologies and like stuff like VR and like just like multiplayer like esports, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Right.
But yeah, so the way I did it is just like I got my developer account like way back in 2016, but I didn't really like do anything with it until like May of last year. And the reason you want to get that storefront up as soon as possible because that allows players to like wishlist the game. And what that means is that if someone wishlists your game, when it comes out, they'll get like an email notification saying that it's out.
Gotcha. And
more importantly, the more wishlists you have, the better chances like you'll actually get featured on like their Steam's like front page, like the day that it comes out and like all that stuff.
Right.
And that traffic is like absolutely insane. Like millions of people, millions of views. Like there's this one, I was like watching this talk like the other day where like this one developer, he was like, yeah, we went viral on Reddit, we went like viral on Twitter, we like did all this stuff, but Steam was still like 88% of like all of our like traffic like for the first few days. Just from like, being on the first like just from being on the front page.
So just being on Steam.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and I think this is like an analog again to kind of almost any creative endeavor, and maybe in this new world of entrepreneurship we're all living in, maybe other endeavor. Like this kind of reminds me a little bit of you have Indiegogo and Kickstarter and all these kind of portals that if you're developing new things that you can be on, but I think Steam and I want to talk about Twitch a little bit too when we get there when we talk about esports, but this seems to be even a newer sort of generation of this kind of concept where it's sort of like Kickstarter, kind of Etsy combination of like this sort of marketplace and sharing economy, but also the developer scene, the developer and technology scene. It's kind of pretty interesting how things are evolving, where it's a real community being built up around it, and not just for sales or not just for funding projects. It's like this holistic mashup of developers and people that are trying to sell stuff and promoting things, and it's maybe that's why it's getting like this much attention, I guess, because it's a real different organic sort of bubbling up kind of feel to it, right?
Oh yeah, like the power of the internet, man, it's just insane. Like decades ago. It's weird saying decades, even though it's like late, like 2000s or like even like
how many decades have you been alive, Davionne? Okay.
But yeah, nowadays like it's a lot more like creator and like community driven.
Right.
So back in the day, like if you wanted to like get your game on Steam or like even just like release it like at all or just get funding for whatever, you would usually have to like find a publisher, and they would have pretty strict terms as far as like what you could do with it, like as far as like IP ownership and like how much they would take from like the like overall sales, stuff like that. Nowadays with like the internet and like Kickstarter and like self-publishing like platforms like that, where it's like you can just like put your creation out there just like willy-nilly just out to the public and just market it and build a community around that like yourself. And even better with that is that you can like build that like personal relationship with your like audience too.
Right.
So it's not just like, oh, here's like this big scary corporation selling me some random BS. Like no, it's like actual like human behind it. So it's that's always like dope to me.
Yeah. Well, it's a different experience. We've the 20th century was about mass marketing and the big corporations, and we were building up all these sort of supply chains and channels, retail channels and all that kind of stuff to get stuff out to the public, because that's kind of how you had to do it back then. It's like you had to put stuff on a truck and ship it out to a store, and that's the only way someone could discover anything is to kind of go to the mall or whatever. Now the internet's here, you don't have to do that, and now this new experience of actually like, hey man, I can reach out and find a game that I really love and know the guy who built it and interact with them directly. I mean, it's pretty far out when you really think about it.
And even better, you can like make like whatever like weird stuff you want to now too.
Right.
Because like there's a niche out there for everybody, and it's just like, and with the internet you can just find that niche, and it's like really dope.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool. So, all right, so you throw your stuff on there. Thanks for describing that, by the way.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, because it's a little bit different twist, but I think it's instructive in terms of not just for gaming or technical things, but for anything you're going to try to develop these days or do business in a certain way these days. All right, so you throw your stuff on there. Is that where it starts to get noticed, and is that what starts pulling you into kind of people reaching out to you and say, hey, we'd love to have your game at this conference or whatever? So tell me about kind of how things evolve from there.
That's pretty much the start of the battle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like if any like other product, like if you put like a product on Amazon, it's like, all right, cool, but like you still gotta market it, you still gotta do like get the word out, you still gotta like do the actual work.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for the first few months with that demo coming out, I submitted like a bunch of like different showcases and like events. I like reached out to press. Most of them didn't get back to me, or they didn't get back to me like in time for like actual coverage.
Okay.
There were a few that got back to me like immediately, and one of them was Polygon, and they're like this huge like gaming website. They're like one of like the top 3, huge reach. And the journalist I reached out to, she no longer works there, but it was like her name was Allegra Frank, and she responded in literally an hour after I sent the email off to her, and she was like, hey, like I love this game, like I definitely want to cover it, can you like send over a demo, like all that stuff.
Wow,
so I was like, all right, bet, let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just pretty much just like getting the word out like any way that you can, either through press, submitting new events, like stuff like the Indie Mega Booth which like covers like a bunch of like indie games. They invite you like over to big events like either GDC or E3 or PAX, which we can talk about a little bit later. And also just like reaching out to like streamers like and YouTubers, getting them to cover their game, and also just like more like out there marketing methods. There's this one game, like this mobile game, where they release these ads where basically the character, it's like this 11-second ad, and basically it's like this girl, and she sees like her pregnancy like test, and it comes like positive.
Okay.
She tells her boyfriend spits out his coffee and immediately like gets on a scooter and leaves. And then there's a pop-up, Lily's Garden, play now as she's still crying. And it has nothing to do with the actual game.
Oh, really?
And it went viral. And it was amazing.
Really?
It's like, this ad is so like bizarre, but like I love it. But like the game because of it now. So it's like different ways you can just like market your game. And like it's literally like like unique like flavor. Like that's
right.
That's pretty much the key.
Yeah, and you figure if that's like a weird creative way of that ad, you probably figure like, well, that game must be interesting because it was such an interesting way they were marketing it, right? Yeah, that's cool. So, all right, well, tell me about the places where you actually physically got to go and demo your game. So because of all this way you started reaching out and kind of popping it into the right place, whatever, you get noticed, and what happens from there? You get pulled into these conferences. I know you were in Atlanta and New York, right? 2 different places. And Seattle, right?
Oh,
so we got to cover this part, man. Like, this is what I want to hear about.
So in total, places that I've physically been to, in like just the past year alone, Columbus, Atlanta, San Francisco, New York, Seattle. I'm going to maybe Oakland again next month, LA in December, and then I was also, not me myself, but the actual game. We were also in Brazil this past summer, Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian. That was really cool.
What? Okay.
And then just this past Friday, we were at, again, over in Oakland for like this different like expo. And also here in home in Cleveland too.
Yeah, obviously. Of course. Wow, that's amazing. Well, and the game's not even out. I mean, this is what I'm trying to understand, like how this kind of niche works, or how gaming works, or how to getting it out there. So how did you get into those conferences? Now these are most of those things you just mentioned were conferences you were physically at that you had a chance to have a booth or a little demo area where you could show the game, right, and talk to people, have people play the demo version, right?
Yep.
So how do you get listed in there? Is it just as easy as applying to these conferences, or or was it just part of the notoriety, or why did they want to have you there?
It depends on the actual event. So as far as the why and my whole like rationale for how I think this is all happening, because I still kind of don't know myself.
Okay.
I think the game itself like really resonates with a lot of people, especially when it comes like the actual like subject matter and like just like how like relatable like everybody is, like how authentic the dialogue is, like the atmosphere is like so different, and how it all just kind of clicks together. Yeah, and as far as like actually getting the event itself, it depends per the event. So some are more like open, where it's just like, hey, like we want indies, feel free to apply. We give you like a free booth if you get in. Yeah, so for all of them, they all will have like their own like selection process. So it's just it's very curated, all like that.
Right.
Some are like just pay it, where it's just like, hey, here's like a $50 application fee, or hey, $30 application fee, and then if you get in, that's like another $400 for the actual booth, which hurts my wallet, but that's life.
Right.
And then there are other ones where they specifically invite you out. So one of them, I was out in Seattle. Micosoft, they actually invited me at their like ID at Xbox like open house.
Okay.
So I went out down to like their main campus, like showed off there for like an entire day. There's like one half like press and like special guest period, and the other half was like the full like public period. 2,000 people within like 3 hours. Absolutely insane.
Wow. So this is in Redmond then?
Yeah.
Right? Wow. Well, that's cool, man. What did you think of being at Microsoft? That must be kind of mind-blowing.
Oh my God, it was so dope. It was just like they're doing good when they have like vending machines with like all different type of drinks for free. Just like go in there and just like get whatever you want. I was like I'm always just like impressed by like the little stuff like that.
Right,
so like,
right. Yeah, there's a budget for this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, they catered the entire thing too, like just for developers too. Oh my God, it was so nice.
Wow, that's really cool, man.
But yeah, it was really cool. Just like being up there, like meeting like other like fellow developers, and just like seeing, because that's the other thing too.
Now, is that something that they would pay for, or they just invited you and say, if you want to show up, we would love to have you?
It depends on the event. Some events you have to like just pay for it all yourself. Others they'll pay for some of it.
Okay.
Some they'll like invite you out there and they'll pay for the entire thing. So there's the one that I was in New York, to call it like the GameDevs of Color Expo, and that like kind of showcases like game devs of color.
Okay.
Yeah, that one they actually they flew me out there. I didn't have to pay for accommodations because I just stayed with a friend.
Okay.
And then I found out when I got there, they're like, hey, because I also spoke there too. They were like, hey, we're also gonna...
well, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about this, because this was kind of interesting to me when I remember talking to you about it. Gosh, I don't know, a few months ago now, right after you got back, I think it was. So you were out there. So it was. You said this so fast. It was a Game Developers of Color conference. Yep. Okay. Has that been around for a while, or is it new? Or
this year was its third year.
Third year. Okay. So I hadn't heard of something like that. So I think that's pretty cool. To kind of read how this technology world, and specifically the gaming world, it's starting to be more specifically, I guess, more diverse. I mean, it's probably always there's always been a sector of everybody does everything usually, but in terms of the visibility of trying to draw people in and being more welcoming to a more diverse crowd, I think it's a pretty cool thing. So you got invited out there and you were sitting on a panel. So what were they looking to get from you? Or they just wanted your voice of, were they interested in the game, or just your perspective on, being who you are and developing games as you, being you?
Yeah. So that event is just like a 1-day thing, and they have both the game showcase and they have like panels and like talks just going on throughout the entire day.
Yeah.
The one that I was on was about like hip hop and video games.
Ah, okay.
So we just talked about, because my game has like a lot of this like hip hop, both music and like just influence on it.
Okay.
So I was there, 2 other rappers and another game developer. We just like kind of talked about like all types of stuff, like like our experience, like just creating games, diversity, like how does like hip hop like influence us, like what's our process. Just like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And apparently that was like received like really well.
Yeah.
I hope so. At least that's what I've been hearing.
Right. That's good. I think it's cool because it's fun, right? You got to integrate all, especially with video games. It's kind of a lot of the games are a reflection of kind of pop culture or just the times we live in. So it makes sense that and hip hop is a huge influence now musically, right? Pop music wise. So it just makes sense to have that all included. Okay, so you're out there and you got invited to this other crazy, whatever esports event, right? That was out there, right? So tell people about that. We'll touch on esports for a second here.
Yeah. So I have like this other like music contact. He's like helping me with like some like management stuff. But his name is Aaron. So I met up with him for coffee the day before the event, and he was like, "Hey, so I can't. There's like this Fortnite World Cup event happening this weekend. I can't go on Sunday. Do you want 2 VIP free tickets?" I was like, yeah. Like,
well, if I have to.
yeah. So
Right.
the day after the actual expo event, I go down to Brooklyn for like the World Cup event, which is just like absolutely insane. It's like this. So it's like the Arthur Ashe like tennis stadium or whatever.
Right.
And it was crazy that like this one game took over like the entire area, both like outside and in it, and it was like completely like sold out. Like all this energy, all these people, free food, free drinks, free all type of stuff, and that was just like, it's a different reality almost.
Right. So I saw the pictures that you took, or some of the things online about it, and I was looking at it, and it literally looked to me like this was out of some like Hollywood movie of some alternate reality of like where, you know, people got into video games like sometime in the future, and they had these crazy stadium events or whatever, except that it was all real.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I mean, there were thousands of people, gigantic video screens. I mean, think about the screens that were like, you know, if anybody's locally here been to like a Cavs game, like they have these giant, you know, digital video screens that, you know, above the arena floor. That's kind of what it looked like to me, where they were playing the game, you know, showing those videos, and everybody was in the stadium. Now, were the players, were they on the court, like where the tennis players would be? Were the players on the court so you could physically see them, but then it was, you know, also on these giant video screens?
Yeah, they had like 2 floors on the actual court, like just for like the players.
Okay.
And how Fortnite works, if you guys don't know, it's just like, it's like this 100-player like battle royale, like just fight to the death type of situation. So it had just like 100 people like on that court for all their like each like individual in all of like their own like individual like monitor and computer and like headsets, like all that stuff.
Right.
Just playing a game, and like everybody around them was just like hype, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, this is wild. And okay, so, and how long did that take? Was that was the finals, obviously?
Yeah.
And like, time-wise, how long is it, like a couple hours, or is it 6 hours, or how long does it take to kind of watch that event or whatever?
It depends on the event and like the event, the day, what they're playing, yada yada.
Yeah.
So I got there pretty late, around like 3, and it had been going on since like 1.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually had like a performance by Marshmello, which is another weird thing.
Okay.
But
Marshmello, the DJ.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but apparently like the day before they like went to like the actual like late night. So
Okay.
yeah.
Because it's kind of dependent on who's winning and whatever. There's no time limit on the game, right? It's not like watching a basketball game or something.
Technically there is.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah, so how that game works is that there's it's fights to the death, but you have like this like storm. It's like storm circle, which like closes in like as like the match goes on.
I see.
And usually matches last around 15-20 minutes, give or take.
Gotcha.
But because these are like the pros, they're like fighting to like the very bitter end, like
Right.
So yeah, the match usually didn't last longer than like 25 minutes,
Gotcha.
and there were like a couple rounds of that going on. And there's also like solos, duos, squads, like a full team. So yeah, just like stuff like that.
I see. So, and the winner, which this was, you know, it was out in the press a few months ago now, but I can't remember what his name was, but he's like a 16-year-old kid, and the prize money was something like $3 million. Is that right?
His kid name goes by Booga.
Booga. Okay.
Yeah, 16-year-old kid. I still get sorry whenever I think about this man. $3 million.
Could have been you, man. No.
I wish it was me,
right.
man. He's gonna be making a game if I had $3 million right now.
Exactly.
I mean, I probably would, but like,
Yeah.
not
Right.
It wouldn't take this long.
Right. Exactly. Right. You'd have some help. But yeah, it's quite interesting. It's a little bit bizarre in my mind, but you know, I'm an older dude. I'm not in that zone so much anymore. But you know, if you're in high school or just coming out, or like your age range, I mean, this has got to be really interesting and compelling. And like I said, I think it's kind of a preview of there's going to be more and more things that look more gamified, or that are more sort of video game oriented, the way we kind of interact with things these days, especially with, you know, blockchain and the tokenization, also other junk that's out there that's going to come our way. But let's wrap up She Dreams Elsewhere, just the status of it, before we kind of move into the esports thing, because I want to keep talking about esports a little bit here. So, all right, so you were out there for this event. You've gone to ththese conferences. You're getting more notoriety now for She Dreams Elsewhere. But when is it going to be released? What are your next steps with it? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so coming out early 2020 for PC, Mac, Linux, Xbox One, and just got confirmed for Nintendo Switch a few weeks ago.
Okay.
But yeah, basically the last few months just like finishing up development, just like whatever like story content there is, polishing stuff. The battle system needs a lot of work right now. And also just like going to like more events. There's one in London coming up next month.
Okay.
That I probably won't be going to physically, but
right,
we'll see. And then also more stuff in mind. So
I gotcha. Yeah, really cool. And one other question I have for you, like I was looking at again, sort of the artwork. Like I know you probably did the filming of that little, short demo, right, or teaser, whatever you want to call it. But the graphics and the design of that, is that all you? Is this all? Are you like a one-man show, or do you have other help with art pieces, or are you just the technical coder guy? Like, what do you actually do to develop the game?
Yeah, pretty much everything except the music and the character designs is all me just going insane for the past 4 years.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious, like what you really do,
Yeah, development, writing, art, battle system coding, a whole nine yards. Yeah, the whole thing.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, because there's a lot to it, right? Like the storyline is very interesting. You got to be sort of a storyteller and have that experience. And there's the technical part of coding, and then the artistic part of what's this thing look like, and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
cool.
People don't know how much this goes into it, man, but it's a whole thing.
Lot. Yeah, it's a lot for sure. Okay, well, cool, man. Well, all right, let's jump over to excuse me. Esports a little bit. I want to dive deeper into that a little bit and get your thoughts on it, because again, this is another thing that's just wild. Like, you just heard about that, big Fortnite final event in New York City there, but in and that's kind of a competition-based game or whatever, and it is kind of a sporting event now. It's kind of how they're treating it. But there's this larger thing that's happening, that professional sports leagues, like real sports leagues, are kind of all starting to develop their own esports franchises. Okay, and so one of the things I noticed here is that the if there's any NBA 2K fans out there, I guess that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
That plays that game. That's a video game, basketball oriented video game, put out by the NBA, and I'm not sure who produces the video game.
EA, I believe.
EA Sports. Yeah, EA Sports. Okay. Well, all the pro teams are kind of like, they all have their own esports teams now, even. Okay, like the Cavaliers locally here in Cleveland have an esports team. They're called the Legion, Cavaliers Legion or something like that. Cavs Legion, I think it's called. And where it's kind of, the monikers are kind of reminiscent of like Premier League soccer or something like that. So it's like Cavs Legion GC, like gaming club or something like that, instead of football club, FC. But it's wild, and they're building a physical facility here, training facility and gaming facility for the esports team that's going to open up in, where is it, like Ohio City or something, somewhere on the west side here locally in Cleveland, this fall. And I think the leagues run normally like in the spring, like when the NBA season is over or starting to be over. Like I think the esports leagues kick off in April or May, and they kind of run through the summer, so to not compete directly with the NBA season. But I mean, this is just bizarre to me that that the actual NBA franchises all are sponsoring these teams, and it's like a professional job that you could work for the Cavs or the Nets or the whatever, whatever the local NBA team is in your city, and be a professional gamer for them, and train year round now, like as a real athlete on these games. So what do you think about that? First of all, do you have any interest in that? But what are your thoughts on that whole scene,
Yeah, as far as interest in esports, I'm awful at like most competitive games, so
that
wouldn't work like no matter what.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really cool, but like to me, like growing up with games, like it makes perfect sense, especially like because I did used to play like some competitive like stuff like back in the day.
Okay.
But yeah, it basically is just like being an athlete, like just like training every day, but like instead of like just being on the court and like actually like being like physical, I guess. Like you're like training like your brain essentially, just like
right.
The whole like mental like aspects of it all, and depending on the game too, there's a lot that like goes into it in like the little like nitty gritty details. And that like nitty gritty details separates the pros from just like the casual Joe like me.
Right.
And that takes a lot of time to like hone and like do stuff like that. Like even Booga, the dude who won the Fortnite thing, he tweeted like a year ago that, hey, I'm gonna play this game every single day and like train, and I want to be like, the champion, like the World Cup or whatever.
Right.
And then you actually did it like a year later.
Wow.
And that's that dedication, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at some point it's just a grind.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like training for a marathon or like running a marathon. I mean, it's like, yeah, I love running. I like working out. But when you're just doing it for real, it's really probably a real grind. That's just like, you got to stay focused and just, put in the time really. But that's, it's just the way the world is spinning these days. I just think it's pretty interesting. Again, a metaphor for, a lot of other things that might spin out of it. I mean, I think about the augmented reality things that will be coming, maybe integrated into those kind of gaming scenarios. Also the virtual reality world and how that's going to change everything up. So pretty wild
you
stuff.
mentioned augmented reality. We could definitely be having a Pokemon in real life. Now that you mentioned that, that'd be insane. Like Pokemon battles, like as an oh my god,
yeah,
that would be amazing.
Oh no, I'm sure it's happening somewhere, but I know that it's probably going to be happening in a larger way, in a more professional way, right? Somebody's these leagues are going to start, or this concept is going to start, and I just think there's a lot of I don't know, potential opportunity or fun, just a different way to live in the world. But also instructive to I think our everyday tasks are going to start looking a little bit more like this, maybe, already when you're shopping for furniture and light fixtures and stuff like that, you can already pop them into your, room that you're looking at through your phone, right? There's already these augmented reality kind of applications out there for retail and different things. So this is just, So, I mean, I guess I'm thinking like if you're like a parent out there and has a kid and have a young person that's into gaming, you might think they're wasting their life, but I think they're probably training for how life is going to be a little bit more so in the future in a way, right? Of course you can get lost down the rabbit hole and maybe be a couch potato too, but but there's probably a little more value than there used to be in terms of just going down that route.
Yeah, I see it as just like, when I was in high school, you'd have like, people or like both students and parents be like, oh, you're just playing basketball, like, like you're probably not even going to be in the NBA or NFL, like whatever.
Right.
Like the odds of that happening, like it's so low. And I mean, you cannot, like being in an esports team is like, there's a much higher chance of like that actually happening, like compared to like the actual NBA and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But, being at the very top, it's still not as likely, but that dream is still there, and if you still want to get to that, like you still got to put in that work. So, like whenever people like come to me and be like, "Hey, like I'm actually like training in like, Rainbow Six, or, like whatever game," like, yeah, just go for it, dude. Like keep doing it. Like, that's dope.
Right? Yeah, you never know what it'll turn into.
Yeah.
And now, again, on the esports tip is this website out there called Twitch.tv, I think it's called, which Amazon recently bought, so it's part of Amazon now. I don't know if I was looking on the site. There's no Amazon branding on it. You have to kind of look a little bit deeper behind the scenes to figure out who owns it and that kind of stuff. Maybe they'll start incorporating their brand into it or not. I'm not sure.
There's like a little bit like already in there. Like if you have like Amazon Prime, you get like extra bonuses like with Twitch, and like Twitch like has like its own thing called Twitch Prime, which I forget what it does, but it's apparently it's dope.
Okay, all right. Apparently it's dope. Davionne says it's dope, so you heard it right here, folks. But again, like when we were talking about, like Steam and these other websites, this again it's a kind of interesting place. I was knocking around on it where there's massive streaming happening on it of video games, of people playing video games live. So like massive streaming of all types of different games, but also developers, and also you can put some of your own content on there. I mean, it's really like it's a platform, it's a community. You can find jobs within this. I saw there's like a job posting site part of it. I mean, it's like it's really more of an integrated approach to like, if this is the stuff you like, here's your environment, here's your social people that you can find, here's jobs, professional things, just places to hang out. I mean, a way to monetize things if you want to, or gain an audience or attention. I mean, it's just like, this is pretty wild, really, and it's evolving fast, and it's got huge numbers in terms of attention. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's so under the radar maybe for some people out there, but for some segments that maybe weren't so connected before, it was harder to find, like-minded people. I think that's just such a, benefit to that crowd. Yeah. It's kind of interesting.
And it's like you were saying, like the evolution, like it's crazy how it evolved like throughout the years. Like, like originally it started as like Justin.tv, and it was just like this like small group of people, like just the founders, like, live streaming, just like their like daily lives. And then they kind of like opened that up, and it's just like people just like the most mundane stuff, like some little debauchery in there that they eventually cut out. But yeah, then over time they found out that, hey, like people, like the gaming part of this, people actually enjoy that a lot more. So they kind of like focus like more on the gaming side. But then nowadays it's like people love the gaming part, but they also love like the actual like streamer like themselves.
Right.
So they have like a lot more categories where it's just like it's both gaming. And there's also like, you know, like people like making art, people cooking, people like making music, people like doing ASMR, or even just like just chill like hangouts.
Right.
And it's just like all over the place. So like wherever like you are on Twitch, you can find something like for you, either streaming it or just watching casually. And I think that's really dope.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's kind of like, I think maybe YouTube was like the early sort of video platform where people were sort of showing things, and it's still, you know, YouTube's still huge, massive. But this is like another evolution of now that we can put stuff online and stream stuff, sort of a little different flavor of it. It's pretty interesting. And I'm sure it's going to be, we'll see more stuff like Twitch, more Twitch-like things out there, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's already like Mixer, which is like Microsoft's like Twitch competitor, and they have like a couple other benefits to them. They're not as big as Twitch right now.
Mm-hmm.
They did just poach Twitch's previous biggest streamer, this dude named Ninja.
Okay.
He's like one of the few streamers who are like actually like mainstream,
Okay.
making millions per year, like been on like late night TV shows like, you know, Jimmy Fallon,
Right.
Ellen,
Right.
like all that stuff. And they just bought him to stream on Mixer exclusively for, I'm not sure how much and for how long, but it was like in the millions.
I see.
So we'll see.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because it kind of makes me kind of sets up, I guess, the next kind of area I want to go into. I want to rewind a little bit and hear about really how you got into this and why you kind of made the decisions that you made. Because when I first met you, this goes back, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
You were in school in Chicago at DePaul, right?
Yep.
Okay, and you were studying filmmaking.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit, because by the way, I was looking you up. I was stalking you online a little bit. And if you go to the imdb.com,
Oh, that's still there.
yeah, which is the, I don't know what that stands for. It's like a movie
Internet Movie Database.
Yeah. Okay, so it's like it lists all these credits if you're in the movie industry, or you know, if you're out there, and you have 6 different titles on there. So you're for credits actually.
Mm-hmm.
So of it being a director, a writer, cinematographer, editor, producer, and one for sound department.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, so that was part of what you were doing back then. But now you're more in the gaming scene. So what happened? Like, because I remember you were going to school, and then I think you dropped out of school, or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened, and why you kind of made the decisions you made.
Yeah, so I did one semester at DePaul, and I hated it. And I was like, college, I love the social part of it.
Yeah.
But the actual classes and like doing all that stuff, absolutely not. I'm
Okay.
out.
Oh, really?
I'm out.
Okay, so you made that decision pretty quickly. I thought maybe you'd gone there a year already or something. So just one semester.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I went back for a little bit, but that was just like living with like a few friends and just
Okay.
like having like both like work on the game like full time, but like still having that social part of college.
Right.
Uh,
And you were studying, what was there a program or a major that you were studying? It was film, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was weird too. That was like the other part of it where it's like a lot of the stuff that I was learning in film, at least at that time, I already knew.
Okay.
And it's like I remember like going to my screenwriting class, or not screenwriting, it was my main film production class, and it was the third class of that semester because I missed the first 2.
Okay.
Because first time I just straight up did not know I had that class.
Okay.
Second time I took the wrong train and it was a whole little nightmare. Yeah. Third time finally show up,
Yeah.
still late though.
Yeah.
Thanks subway system of Chicago, appreciate you.
Right.
But yeah, I go up there and they're like, this is what a script looks like, and I'm like, boy, I've written these. I know what a script looks like. I don't need to be taught this. Like,
Right.
why am I paying like all this money just to like learn stuff I already know or could just like learn online?
Right.
And that's like the other like big part of like the whole decision was just like, no, I am always been like more of like a DIY. It's like do it yourself, learn it yourself type of person.
Okay.
It's like find like your own path, just like do whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I still do film. And nowadays I do a lot of like videography for like companies just to like pay the bills, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also still do like short films, music videos. I'm writing my next like full length feature now.
Okay.
When I'm
Full-length feature film.
yeah.
Okay,
And that'll
wow.
be like that'll be my first official one, but my 4th one overall.
Okay.
So like some of the like stuff on that IMDb page, like are feature films I've done in the past.
I see.
We don't talk about those nowadays. So.
Okay. All right. Don't look those up. Do not look him up. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, my current plan is that after I finish the game, I'm planning on moving to some big city, and just focusing back on like film production for a little bit. I'll still be doing games too, but that'll be like more of like it's kind of a slower pace type of thing. So yeah, just still doing games and films. I love being creative. I love just like making like weird stuff.
Okay, that's cool. Well, that's interesting to hear your perspective of, like, I can't imagine me. It's been, gosh, I don't want to think about how many years since I graduated college, but but if I was you today and at your age today and going to school like right out of high school, I might feel the same way. I think in terms of, if you're really into what you're trying to learn, you're probably ahead of the game because you're so passionate about it, and you can reach out and find, Google all this stuff, find it online, take independent courses online if you want to, right?
It's like networking around too.
And networking with people, yeah, right. And then when you get to college, and they have to kind of cater to sort of the average student, I guess, right? Not the real motivated student necessarily. Even at great schools, you're still going to have this spectrum of people that are super motivated and people that aren't, and but they just got in, they're paying the full tuition, those kids, or whatever. You might be the scholarship guy because you're motivated, but it's got to be a drag to kind of sit there and just think like, man, especially if you're trying to pay your own tuition, if your parents aren't funding it or whatever, wherever you're coming from. Right. It works. It's a different equation these days, I think,
It's not to say that like I'm like the most talented filmmaker, like I'm feeling like haughty, like all that stuff. It's just like, it was a different like vibe and like a different path I was feeling. Yeah. So yeah, it's just, I forgot where I was going with this. I totally had a different thought.
No, it's okay. So you've been doing what you're doing now for, I don't know, last year and a half or 2 years, let's say. Do you think about, is there any regret there, or are you thinking like, no, this was the right path? I'm cool with it.
Dropping out was probably one of the best decisions I made in my entire life, honestly. Just because I actually got to be able to like, it really just taught me like, what do I actually like want to do? Like, what am I actually looking for? And like, how am I going to get there? Right. And just being able to just like work on like this game like full time, just like no other distractions, like no have to worry about like homework, like whatever. Right. And being able to like just network and like make my own path and like still be like as successful as I wanted to be, but also like a little bit sooner and my own like style, I guess. That's really cool. And it's like the different experiences I've had.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you just touched on something there that I think is interesting, that because you dropped out, you're not going to be trained under these specific systems. Yeah. Or the kind of, the way, most people are trained that make movies or that are making games. You're allowed to develop your own voice more so, probably, in a way, versus the group think. Even if they encourage you when you're at a university to, just be an individual, think on your own. Like they probably do, but it's still a group think thing because you're looking at all your peers, what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. And you're really not, it might be really a better way to develop your own style is to, get some of that, but not be totally immersed in the university system, at least for the creative endeavors like this, And
that's like the other thing too. I just remember where it's like doing both game dev and film, I massively prefer talking to game devs over other filmmakers because filmmakers, there's a lot more ego involved.
Certainly, yeah.
Most people are kind of just like looking out for themselves and like where, they're looking where they can go. And like, if you can help them, they'll take advantage of that. If not, then it's like, you're dead to me. Right. Versus game devs, like we're all working on our own different things. Like we all know the struggle.
It's not competitive.
Yeah. So we can just like vibe out. Just like, it's chill.
Yeah. I like
not to say there's not ego in game dev, and not to say there's chill people in film, right? But there's definitely like a vast difference between the two. Yeah, at least in my experience.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, cool, man. All right, well, we got a few minutes left here, but there's a couple questions I always like to ask people when they come on, and one is about sort of technology in general. So you're younger generation, you've been immersed in this type of technology scene for a while, but how are you thinking about technology in terms of how fast it's moving, how fast it's spinning, its impact on you, kind of like going forward? Is it like just full of opportunity, or are you just wake up some days with complete like anxiety, like, oh my God, I don't know how to navigate these waters, like where's your head at these days?
Both. Definitely both.
Okay.
It's really cool what's happening, but it's also scary as hell, man. Like, especially when it comes to just like the whole like social media aspect too, and like
okay.
the whole privacy and data sharing, and just how it affects like us, like just like mentally, and just like the whole like Instagram effect, where it's just like not like Instagram effect, just I'm trying. There's a term for it, and it's not coming to me right now, but like basically how it can affect like us, like as individuals, and like kind of like our own like relationships with like others, and how we're all connected, but we all like still feel alone in some ways.
Right.
It's a very cliche saying, but it's 100% true.
Right. Yeah.
So that aspect is really scary, but the whole actual being connected with other people, and like as I said earlier, just like finding those different niches and like just stuff like that, that's really cool to me. So I hope things turn out for the better. They
Right.
probably won't, but one can be optimistic. One can dream.
Well, I think it's like I always fall on the positive side, because I try to keep my mind open and keep understanding what these things are. So I'm positive on all the technology stuff, although there's some negative downsides that come with it. I think overall it's still a big positive for me, but I can see how if you get really distracted down a rabbit hole somewhere, it could really be like overwhelming, or you made a big screw up, or why did I post that on social media, and you really get targeted in some weird way, or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's good to hear different perspectives and from different people and different niches that they're in.
I'd like to think it's going to get better, because especially like with our generation, like I feel like we're kind of in the dark ages of social media right now, and as we go on, we'll kind of like realize stuff just like our relationship with it, and like stuff like cancel culture, and like how people can just like get their lives ruined like just through like one post like that.
Right.
I think we'll ultimately like learn to kind of just like move past that and just kind of realize like, hey, it's an online thing. Like that's like that one post is like not the entire person.
Right.
I hope.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's growing pains, kind of like now that we're all connected, we can do all these things, and nobody knows what the right thing is to do. So there's just a lot of noise and craziness out there, which is cool because we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get there.
And in that there's opportunity, but also craziness.
Yep.
So
what else is new?
Yeah, exactly. That's just the way the world's been spinning since day one, most likely. All right. Well, my next question for you is. As you've been like traveling kind of through this journey here of like, gosh, well, I was going to go to college, I was going to be a filmmaker, but I made this pivot and to drop out and to, concentrate on gaming for the moment or whatever. Is there a reinvention revelation that you can share with people of something you discovered maybe about yourself or about maybe the gaming industry or whatever that you wouldn't have predicted, like back before you decided to really make this pivot?
I would say the number one thing, and this comes from like a more just like artist perspective, is just like just learning that it's okay to just like be you, like unapologetically, like both like whenever you're showing off your work, but also like in your work itself, and finding like whatever like truth is in that, and just like sharing that with the world, because that's again like what I think is like why people are kind of like latching on to the game so much, is because it feels like so real and like authentic. So. Yeah, just do you. Make weird stuff and just put it out there.
Right. Well, I think it's one of the reasons why I like just hanging out with you sometimes, or come over to talk to you. So we work at the launch house here near each other. So I just like to see what you're up to, because I can feel that vibe from you. You're like you're your own person. Like I don't think I could really categorize you too much.
I appreciate that,
some people might look at you and think like, oh, he's this guy, he's that guy, and I'm like, no, not really. He's a little geeky, but not too geeky. He's pretty artistic, but then you're technical, and then you just hang out and listen to different types of music. So it seems like you're like you said, you're not afraid to do those things. Yeah, where maybe other folks would be feel like they need more of a identity around them or something like that. You're someone who's out there exploring, so that's cool.
Yeah, I talked to like a lot of friends who are like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, or I want to drop out of this, but like I feel like it's kind of too late for that. I'm like, no, just do it. Like, are you happy? Like, if not, then like, is there a way you can be happy? Yeah, then do it. Just,
All right.
Yeah, just go for it, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Life's
Right.
too short. It really is.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, I keep trying to teach that lesson to myself, and that's really what I get. I get some of that out of doing the podcast, of course. So that's fun for everybody, for me, for sure.
Yes.
So, well, if people are out there and want to learn more about She Dreams Elsewhere,
Yep.
or what else you're up to, where do people go, or where would you send them, or so that they can try the demo or check it out when it comes out?
Yeah, definitely hit up my website, studiozevere.com. That's Zevere. It's like Zevere with an Z.
Okay.
Same thing for Twitter, and also my own Twitter, Instagram, and then also my personal stuff, Davionne Gooden. Same handle for like both websites. And yeah, check it out. Spread the word. Definitely helps.
Okay.
And yeah, drink more water, y'all.
All right.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. All right, I like that, man. Well, thanks so much for being on. All that stuff will be in the show notes. If you go to JimJimsReinventionRevolution.com, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks for having me, man.
All right, awesome. Thank you for listening to Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at JimJimsReinventionRevolution.com. See you next time, and remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it, and will help others find the same value that you found.